Hello, everyone, and welcome back to SSRG and your view. So, we are back with our scholarship series, and today I have with me Fidel, Emma, and Hope, and we'll be talking about statement of purpose or statement of intent. This is an important piece of applying to any scholarship. So if you are applying to most scholarships in the world, they would require you to write statement of purpose. I have written so many and have reviewed so many. But today I want to hear from people who have won different scholarships. I want them to tell us first, why is statement of purpose important in scholarship applications?
Yeah, so good day, everyone. Like Prince said, I think the SOP is the most important document in your application. And one of the reasons why it's the most important document is because that is the first point of contact you have with the program you're applying to. So that is where they get to know who you are as a person, your journey, your story, and why you chose to apply to the program, because there are a whole lot of factors that can impact one's, let's say, academic performance. There are a lot of factors that can impact even your work experiences. But then in your SOP, that is where they get to see beyond the 2-1 or the first class, they get to see you as a person. So that is why it is like the most important document. So that's why you see cases where someone who gets a first class do not get a scholarship, and someone with a second class gets the scholarship because they've read the SOP and they've seen that this person has more passion than the person that even got a first class. So I think that's
So
why
like
it's very important.
in adding to what Hope said, so like we could just say that your SOP or statement of purpose is the reason why they should give you the scholarship. If you look at the whole application process that you've been making, your SOP summarizes everything you are saying. Your personal information, which talks about your background, educational background, and what have you, your professional experience, your work experience, why you chose the university, and what you intend to bring.
Well, you're already
So,
telling us the content, which was going to be the
oh,
next question that I was
so
going to
like, oh
ask.
no,
So
like
maybe
really,
start elaborating on, because Hope mentioned that it is your story, your SOP is your story, right? So maybe let's jump in. What are the contents? What are the things that should be in a good SOP? Statement of purpose. Yeah.
Okay, so I can continue. So
Yeah.
I was saying that it summarizes your whole application. Like even if they did not read your biographic information and every other thing you filled in the application process, it will be found in your SOP. So the beginning looks like an introduction and your background. Majorly, personally, there is no need to write your name because they know your name. So when I say background, don't say my name is, no, no, no. They know who they are reading their SOP. So that's where you introduce your background, where you graduated from the school and all, the first paragraph. But it is always interesting to start with maybe what we even use now on social media, something like a hook or something like a click, is it clickbait they call it on internet? Something that somebody wants to read the first paragraph
I don't know
and
if
they're like,
clickbait is good, because clickbait can be negative. It can be just things that piss people off. But I
no,
get what you are saying. Like, it has to be something that draws people's attention. It
That's
can't be
yes,
something
captivating.
boring.
yes, understand that they read a lot of things and they if you are the reviewer, you'll probably be tired of seeing the same thing. So imagine you bring that hook that the person will be like, I want to read this.
So what else is important to be in an SOP?
Okay, so before I talk about that, let me briefly add that, of course, what Fidel said is correct. That is where the SOP is the opportunity to introduce yourself, your educational background, and others. However, you should be careful not to make it a redundancy of what you already have in your CV.
Mm,
It's
all
not
right.
like you go start talking about everything that your CV should say, but it should be a stylistic way of saying those things in your CV to cover a little bit of different aspects that are not covered in your CV. So it's not like everybody already saw in your CV that you have a first class and you have volunteered in two organizations and you say exactly the same thing in the SOP, and you are blocking yourself from the opportunity of presenting yourself further. That is by the way. And while what I want to say might not exactly focus on what else should be in an SOP, it is going to focus on how what you have in your SOP should be presented, because I think that is also very important. Yeah, so what I'm saying here is that when you start to write, what I would recommend, you mustn't do that, but I'm just saying is that maybe you should try to write the SOP in your head first before you start writing it. Because that way you are able to try to connect the dot or even
More like
write it
say, tell the
somewhere else.
story in your head.
Yeah. The reason I'm saying that is that the first sentence you make in your SOP should be connected to every other sentence that will follow it. So in the first sentence should be connected to every other one, which means every paragraph should be connected to the next one.
So it's like a story. Like
It's a
when
story.
you're telling a
Yeah.
story, you don't jump from
Yeah.
one thing and talk about the next thing without a link.
Exactly.
So you have to
Exactly.
transition very well from each paragraph to the next.
Exactly. For I will just give a brief example. For instance, there was an SOP I wrote, and the first sentence in that SOP is Nigeria is a country with over 250 ethnic groups. That was my first sentence, full stop. And somebody might ask, if you are reading that SOP, you might ask, okay, if Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups, what the hell has this got to do with this application you want to apply for? But
And they
when
want
you
to
read and
find
you
out.
begin to see the connections, it will make sense to you.
Yeah.
For example, when I was writing that SOP, it was about migration. And then I said, because Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups, it means the population is high and we have limited resources. And because of that, people will be forced to migrate. Now it is making sense
Yeah.
to how it connects to migration. So it is not about writing sentences, paragraphs, but make sure they are connected in a way that makes sense. I will stop here for now.
To add to what Ima said,
Ima
like in
said.
order to ensure that you don't start repeating everything in your CV, you look at what kind of scholarship are you applying for. So if I'm applying for a scholarship that is very focused on research, I know that my SOP should be more of my research experiences that will be relevant to that application. So you have to be strategic in a way that you are not putting some things that are not relevant to the kind of scholarship you're applying for. And I think another very important aspect that should be in your SOP is the objective. Like, what are your objectives? And it's very important to know that your objective should align with the objective of the program. So because the program always have what they look out for, what they intend to achieve as a discipline. And so if what you are bringing do not align with what they intend to achieve, then you do not stand a chance or you're not a good fit for the program. So you have to ensure that
Yeah,
your
so
objective is
sorry for the
closely
interruption,
aligned.
Hope.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, Hope, but I was just going to say that, yeah, what you're talking about makes sense. And that will make me add a little bit of what I forgot when I was talking. So now this kind of answers your question directly, Prince, because you asked what should be in an SOP. I think four things are important when you write when you're writing an SOP. It is not limited to this, but there are other things that you should be there. Now, first of all, maybe you can consider these four things, four paragraphs in your SOP. First of all, try to talk about the motivation, your motivation to write this or to apply for this. Then talk about your educational background. After you talk about your educational background and your achievements, talk about your non-educational background, because that is very important. That is when you now talk about all the things you've done, volunteering,
Volunteers, jobs.
you talk about a brief job
Yeah.
or brief research experience. After you talk about that, then the next thing you should talk about is now how all these things qualify you to apply for this, or why you think that with these experiences you should be considered for this scholarship. Then
That's
after
like
you
the
talk
SWOT
about that,
analysis. You can do SWOT in
always, yeah,
everything.
always remember. Yes. And the last one is always remember to talk about what you hope to do with the knowledge you want to gain from that scholarship. After studying for a master's, after studying with for a PhD with Erasmus Mundus scholarship, for example, what will you do with the knowledge and skill?
And you have to be
These are
realistic
4 things
and
that
not
I
Very
think they are important.
overly ambitious.
Realistic is
be
important. You
realistic.
can't just talk about becoming
Yeah.
the president of Nigeria.
Yeah. Have to
I
be
would
very
really want to
realistic.
talk about the SWOT analysis I was just saying.
Go
Please do
ahead.
not forget to, like in the beginning, Hope talked about saying things that there is no opportunity for you to say them in your application.
Yeah.
Use this, your SOP, very well. Because when I talked about SWOT analysis and connecting everything, SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you want to talk about your work experience, your volunteering, it is, for example, let's talk about me, that is always about women empowerment, youth, and children. I cannot go and be talking about elderly care if it does not connect to my youth and children experience, which is the
Yeah,
objective of the
Exactly.
program. So
exactly.
everything connects.
Exactly.
Objective, you research about the university, research about the program. So the strength now will be I'm always volunteering for maybe children and youth. Now, the weakness is now the problem you found from all those your work experience. What is that gap that is still glaring, that's still existing? That with this program, with the things this program is giving, these weaknesses will be solved. This gap will be closed a little. That's where the opportunities are open now. When they give you the scholarship, when you come into the program, this is the opportunities I'm going to bring that is going to close. And that ties you to your future goals and aspirations.
Can
But
I
but
can
for
I add a few things?
yes,
Okay.
Because I have had the opportunity to review a lot of people's SOP. So there are
Applications,
a few things that
SOPs.
I want to add to what you people have said. One is, in addition to Hope talking about the SOP being an opportunity to say things you can't say in your CV and in other parts of your application, the SOP is where I'll give an example of this. I have a condition called face blindness, right? I can't
Yes.
go and talk about face blindness and how it impacts my life in my CV. But if it connects to my career, my academics, the SOP is the perfect opportunity to talk
To talk
about
about
how
it. Yeah.
this informs my research, how it informs my practice, how it informs how I relate to people. The SOP is where I can talk about that. The other thing is, in our culture sometimes, like if you grew up in a big home in Nigeria, like in my house, if I achieve something big and I bring it, they will find a way to try to make you remain humble. They will say, "Oh, this other person have done that, or this other person
Yeah.
you're
have
not the
achieved that."
first.
So they will find a way to make you remain humble. And sometimes you find out that SOP is LinkedIn, but in an application. You have to find a way to talk about your achievement, which you are not usually expected to talk about in mainstream society. You have to
Yeah.
talk about your achievement. But I always
Don't be
also,
humble.
oh no, you should still express some level of humility, because if
Humility.
you are talking
Belief.
about your achievement as if you have done everything,
Every,
the people who want to give you scholarship would ask themselves, why do we now need this person? He's not going to learn anything from us, or they are not going to learn
Yeah.
anything from us. So you have to
yeah.
also
Yeah.
express what you need to keep learning, that you still need to keep learning. You have to give that space while talking about what you bring to the scholarship, who you are, or your achievements. You also have to give room to show that. The other thing that I always find a lot when I review people's SOP, that
SOP.
people make a lot of vague statements. You
Mm.
cannot be making vague statements. You cannot be saying, like, so when you say something, tell us exactly what you did. Like, if you say you volunteered with an organization that supports women and children, right? How many women and children were you supporting?
Exactly. Yeah.
What is the implication? Like, how many people benefited from that? What did you learn in the process of doing this work? Right? You cannot just make a statement. I worked in an organization that supports women and children in Abuja, and expect that that would serve.
We,
That is not even
yeah.
your role there
and
because you are
and
not the
remember and
organization.
remember whatever you achieved in that organization and whatever you learn must have a bearing to whatever you
Meets
are applying for.
It's
Otherwise, do
preparing
not
exactly.
you for
include
that
them.
for that scholarship you are
Do not
aiming for.
include things that are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because maybe students will talk about how they ate jollof rice at the social work agency when they went for field practical.
Yeah. But the truth is, when you always sit with people, like if you see their SOP and some things they think is not really connected to what they are really doing, when you think, you will see that there is always a connection.
Well, if you
Yeah.
want to find
And
a
Yeah.
it
connection in a lot of things, you would find it. So
You
you
would
have to be
find.
yeah, and
intentional about
it
finding
always
that
doesn't
connection.
have to be like the big things. Like
Yes.
it can be in very little things. And
Yes.
Please, if
so
you're a
far you
Nigerian
can show,
listening
yeah.
to, if you're Nigerian listening to us, it is we are very, very ambitious people, and that's a gift. But please, as very simple as anything can be, don't think it is little. No,
Exactly.
it is as important as those big things you think you need to achieve. For example, somebody will be saying, "Oh, it's only founders they listen to. I need to found an organization." No, that's not true. Or like Emma
I
has
have
said now,
not never
maybe he
found
does
an
not have all those
organization.
elaborate volunteering experience and he's on a
Yeah.
scholarship.
Yeah, I've seen
There are
people who
100
talk
ways.
about, yeah, I've seen people
Yeah.
who talk about their just Sunday school experience, teaching Sunday school in church, and it won them scholarships. So, like,
Yeah.
I
it can
wanna
You
just be from the simple things you
yeah,
do every day.
yeah.
there's something that my father used to say. He used to say that if you are given a bicycle and you keep it well, when they buy you a car, you would keep it well. I think
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's the similar concepts that people who review scholarship applications look at. So if they see potential, what they are looking for is potential. They're not looking for the already made product. They are looking
Yeah.
for potential. And I think that there are a lot of ideas that people have about scholarship that prevents them from applying. And it's important that those things are debunked. Like you have
Yes.
mentioned, like talking about founders and CEOs being no, that's not true. Or people who have first class, and
Yeah.
there are people I know
Yeah.
someone who had a third class who got
Yeah.
an Erasmus scholarship.
Yeah.
Yes.
One
Yeah.
of one of the highest scholarship holders in my Emma set. Emma is Erasmus Mundus Nigerian group. He is
Yeah.
an engineering boy. He had the highest number of scholarships amongst in our group, and he made a 2-2.
See, so
But you cannot even match his the thing is, let's say the thing, you cannot match his work experience and certifications that he has and his research. His research is very, very useful to engineering. So now them they rush him. You know what that
So
means?
it's important for us to know that, like all these things that discourage people, they shouldn't be like you have to know yourself, know your worth, and bring it to the table. Like you will be surprised that you are exactly what they are looking for. So that's
Exactly.
Can I say something very quickly? Please, what counts is very important. If they tell you to write 2,500 words, don't write 500. Don't even do that.
Exactly.
and sometimes they
What
say maximum. And you will say, I
maximum?
didn't cross 2,500, but it has to be as close to 2,500 as possible.
Exactly. Please don't write to 300. Don't write 2 lines or like
Yeah.
Yeah.
be
And
cutting the words down
Yeah,
and
instead of
it's
another thing
important to
is,
write, it's important to be concise, and it's also important to not do too much. So you
yes.
just have to reach, you know.
Like for example, if you have
yeah.
2,500 words, why wouldn't you have up to 2,000? There's a
Yeah.
reason why they say 2,500.
Emma, you want
Before
to
you
say
talk
something?
about something, maybe you can have up to 2,000, because I think if it's 2,500, maybe 1,000 words will be giving you like something not sufficient.
Write
Yeah.
2,490.
Very important.
The other thing I was going to say is, because I mentioned that you should talk about your educational background, I'll just give a quick example. Now, for instance, if you write in your SOP that I went to the University of Nigeria where I graduated with a first class, you've succeeded in telling them that you have a first class, but you have not told them how that first class is relevant to this application. For example, if the scholarship you're applying for is to study for a master's in mental health, now this is what happens. See the example. I was opportune to study for my undergraduate at the University of Nigeria, where I graduated with a first class And the courses, the modules that I offered in mental health have given me the background to pursue a master's in mental health now.
Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah.
Exactly.
One line makes a difference. So if you say you have a first class, but it doesn't have a bearing, it doesn't really
Yeah.
help you.
I'm going to say one more thing because we are all out of time.
Yeah.
Mentorship and support from people around you is another important thing.
Yeah.
Every time I write an SOP, I find someone to read it and review for me and tell me their opinion and their thoughts and make even grammatical errors. Don't use ChatGPT. You can have friends who can help you read things, or senior colleagues or professors or your former supervisors.
Lecturers.
They can help you review your application and make comments and tell. And
Or even just a friend.
or if just a friend, like, and also if you are writing it, make it as easy as possible for, because sometimes people who review your application are not in your discipline. So if you use your discipline jargons everywhere, they may not understand what you are saying, right? So it's important to have that balance of that. So think about it as if you are writing something that your mother should be able to understand.
Read. Please
Also,
don't
I
use
think
AI. I
another,
really love that point you raised. I think that AI makes you lose confidence in yourself because there's always something for ChatGPT or Gemini to tell you. So, like Emma said earlier, have the structure of your story in your head. Whatever
It
it
is your
should do for
story.
you,
AI shouldn't write it for you.
it
aside,
shouldn't, please.
I think aside from even losing confidence, a whole lot of people who program coordinators, they can
They
detect when you use
know.
AI, so it automatically disqualifies you.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
becoming more and more rampant and it's causing
And
even
please,
good writers now are
do
scared.
not do not think that you can impress anybody with your big grammatical expressions. They complicate things.
Yeah. Keep it as simple as possible.
Your last paragraph should really concentrate on your future goals and you praising the school in a way, in a very scholarly way.
Don't
You are going
don't
to be
don't
talking
make it
about
so
what the school
obvious.
is known for. Look for it in a day.
Yes.
Talk
yeah.
about maybe their professor that you are interested in, that you have read their work, or they are number one in the world, or
Oh,
they are
now
number
that you
18 so
mentioned their
so.
professor you are interested in, if you already have a supervisor or somebody you are working with, you are going
Yeah.
to be working with, you can highlight that too and talk about
Yeah.
the type of work you people intend to do
To
together.
do
We are going to come back to in the future to talk about specific scholarships
specific
and
scholarship.
what is
Yeah.
Yeah.
required.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
are watching this video, we have the 101 and 102, which
102, go
would
and
help
watch.
prepare you before you get to this point. So please watch those videos, like and subscribe, because we will be coming with specific scholarships that we'll be talking about and inviting other guests, people who have won different types of scholarships, and they will tell you more about it. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.
Bye.